Hi, it's Ed Conarchy back with this week's Conarchy's Money Corner. If we handle our money decisions the way our parents handled theirs, we will fail where they succeeded. I said this in last week's Conarchy's Money Corner video, but it's important to say it again. We have to remember that over time, the rules of money change. What worked in the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s, it's different today. That is true with cars, computers, and phones. We had to adapt and change with all of those. But yet many of us are still handling our money the way our parents handled theirs. Two of these areas are how we handle our mortgage and our home's equity. For our parents and our grandparents, it was commonplace to just stay in one home, for 30 or 40 years, and a lot of times one employer. Mortgage rates were very high back then, 18% in the 80s. And they thought nothing of paying off their mortgage in full and being house rich and cash poor. But in today's personal finance world, paying off your mortgage, having a lot of equity in your home, being house rich and cash poor are not financially prudent things to do these days. Let me ask you a question to illustrate this. Would you drive a car that doesn't have a spare tire? Or here's another one. Would you keep your savings and checking accounts in a bank or credit union that was not insured? No, you wouldn't do that, right? But many people are doing just this with their home and, most importantly, their equity that's in their home. And we don't think anything of this. We've been lulled into a false sense of security. We say things like, my home is the best investment I've ever made. No place safer for my money than for that to be in my home. They can't take my home away from me if I don't have a mortgage. Natural disasters are full of stories of people losing huge sums of money with the destruction of their homes. And unfortunately, we're seeing the story play out again with the recent hurricane in Florida, Hurricane Ian. I was watching 60 Minutes the other day, and they had a story on Hurricane Ian, and they reported that only 18% of Floridians have flood insurance. With so much of the destruction coming from the 15-foot water surge, most people are not insured for the water damage that happened and will lose the equity that they had in their homes. We have a saying, don't let property destruction equate to financial devastation. But sadly, happens all the time. People sitting on a lot of equity in their homes and it's uninsured. And it's not just Florida and hurricanes. It's estimated that only 10% of Californians have earthquake insurance. Think about it. 90% of Californians, in effect, have money in a non-insured bank, the equity of their home. Most consumers don't realize that typical property and liability policies don't cover home damage from floods, earthquakes, waterline breaks, termites, mold, and several other perils, large and small. We have another saying. Personal finance is not about good times and bad times, but instead bad times and preparing for bad times. Warren Buffett also has a saying that says personal finance is not about being right, but avoiding being wrong. So what am I trying to say with all of this? Simply put, stop leaving your personal finance open to unsystematic risk. Don't let your net worth and your financial security take a big hit. If you're sitting on a lot of home equity and it's more than 10% of your net worth, then you should really look at not leaving that much equity in your home. And for sure, stop paying extra money and adding more money on your mortgage payment every month to increase your home's equity. You would never have a huge percentage of your net worth in a company's stock. Don't have a big percentage of your net worth in your home. The days of your home being the safest place to store your cash are no longer. Having a lot of money in one place, it's risky. This includes your home. Another great Warren Buffett quote is, diversification is a protection against ignorance. Love it. So when people say they want to pay off their home and not have a mortgage in retirement, they don't realize how bad of a financial decision that this is these days. Where that may not have been a risky move in the past for your parents and grandparents, it's risky now. Just ask that to anyone that has lost a home due to a hurricane and did not have that flood insurance. Oh, and if you're a homeowner in the Midwest thinking this doesn't apply to me, Google the New Madrid earthquake in Missouri. The 3 strongest earthquakes registered magnitudes of 8.6, 8.4, and 8.7 on the Richter scale. They caused the Mississippi River to flow backwards. They were felt as far north as Quebec, Canada, and they rang church bells in Boston. In fact, Northern Illinois just recently had an earthquake, a 3.8 magnitude earthquake in 2010. I know this is counterintuitive. It's another time where conventional wisdom is wrong. Take and keep a mortgage is what I'm trying to teach you here. Borrow somebody else's money so that you can keep your own money in your possession, safe, liquid, and accessible. Again, just learn from the stories coming out of Florida after Ian. Hear the people tell their stories about how insurance won't cover their losses. The money they will lose will be a heartbreak for all of them. Learn and avoid this in the future from their stories. As we say, plan for the worst and have yourself fully insured. You spent too much time working hard to grow your net worth. Don't leave your money open to the chance of you losing that and having it washed away. I hope you enjoyed this Conarchy's Money Corner. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them down below. And don't forget to subscribe and like the Conarchy's Money Corner. Talk to you next time on Conarchy's Money Corner.